about interpreting graphs, guys. We're going to look at this following question. Okay, the question over here says, the sketch below shows the graph of f of x is equal to a over x plus p plus q, and g of x is equal to b to the power of x plus c. Now, my first questions to you guys is, what kind of graph is this? Before we even get into looking at the drawing itself, what graph is this? What kind of graph are we looking at over here, guys? A divided by x plus q. What kind of graph are we working with? It's not a tan graph. That's it, Amber. That's correct. That's it. Good. Atlehang, it's not a hyperbole. A hyperbole is something that happens. You learn it in English. It's a figure of speech. It's a hyperbola. Good. Hyperbola. Okay. It's a hyperbola. That's okay, my sweetie. It happens. Good. It's a hyperbola. And we then, before we even look at the rest of the question, we should already know a couple of things about a hyperbola. Before we get started, we should always know that a hyperbola comes with asymptotes. Okay. Hyperbola comes with asymptotes, an x asymptote and a y asymptote. Okay, but we're going to have to write them as formulas. X is equal to and y is equal to. Right. So we already know that somewhere along the line, we're going to have to find the asymptotes for these two graphs, right? The asymptote for each of them. And what kind of graph do we have over here, guys? What kind of graph is this? What kind of graph do we have over here? B to the power of x plus c. What kind of graph are we dealing with, guys? It's not a parabola. It's not a tan graph. Thank you. That's it, Tiana. It's an exponential graph. Good. It's an exponential graph. Okay. And we know that our exponential graph also comes with an asymptote, but it only comes with one. There's only one asymptote for our exponential. That's a y asymptote. Y is equal to something. All right, so we're going to read the information they've given us before we continue, because the information they give us is very, very important. It helps us a lot. Okay, so whenever you come into a question and they give you the sketch of something, something is equal to something, read all of this info. Read all of it. It's very, very important. Okay, they say that the sketch of f of x is a over x plus p plus q. And they will always name our graph for us, guys. Do we note that this one over here is named f? It's over here, this one. And that's the hyperbola. And we know that the hyperbola always comes with a friend. There's the friend over there. Now, before we even get started, guys, which two quadrants does my hyperbola fall under? Which two quadrants? Look at the way that they're positioned. Look at the way that they're positioned, guys. That's it. They fall into quadrants 2 and 4. So before we even get anywhere, what do we know about this value of A in our graph? Is it going to be positive or negative? Oh, not positive, Amber. I can tell you that. It's going to be negative. Good. Our A is going to be negative. So before you even calculate anything, if you end up with a value for A that is positive, yeah, now you've done something wrong. Something didn't work out the way that it needed to work out. Okay. Somewhere, something didn't happen that was right. Okay. Tiana, what's up? I'll do that now, Asi.
Ma'am, please rephrase the question. Like, why is ma'am saying A is negative?
Because remember, when A in a hyperbola, if A is positive, it lands in quadrants 1 and 3, remember? And when A is negative, which two quadrants is it going to land in?
2 and 4. Okay, now I understand. Thank you, ma'am.
Yep. All right. Excellent. All right. I hope everybody's on board. Asi, I know you just said, can you repeat? if it's in quadrants 1 and 4, so if it was sitting over here and over here, then that would be a positive graph. The A would be positive, but because it's sitting in that quadrant, quadrant 2 and quadrant 4, the A is automatically negative. So when we calculate for A, we must make sure that A comes out negative. Okay. Teacher Nels, can you just put that right up in the chat about when somebody can't see my screen? Because somebody's just DM'd me telling me that they can't see my screen. Okay. Please and thank you in advance. Thank you. All right. Okay, so we know that our A is going to be negative because our graph is in quadrants 2 and 4. Now it says the x-intercept. Guys, what do we know about x-intercept? The x-intercept, at the x-intercept, what? What happens at x-intercept? Thank you, Patu. Yes, Namisile. That's it, Funzo. Y is equal to 0. Right. So we just need to go look on our graph for a point where y is 0. They're telling us that the x-intercept of f is -6 and 0. There it is there. That's the point. Okay. And the y-intercept, what happens at the y-intercept? X is equal to 0. Thank you. But I want us to note something, guys. Let me just make this graph a little bit bigger because now, I mean, it's really big. I mean, it's really tiny and you can't really see everything. All right. This write-up over here says, this is what it's saying. It's saying that the y-intercept of the graph F and G is 0 and -3. So both my graphs have a y-intercept of 0 and 3. Both of them meet right there. They both meet there. And that's very important because what do we call the point where two graphs meet, guys? What is it called? The point of what? Yes, Tiana. It's not the midpoint.
Isn't it the point of intersection?
That's it. I mean, seriously, these days you are just like, it's make sure every day, girl.
Every day you must make sure.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Good. It is the point of intersection. Point of intersection. All right. But we also know something about the point of intersection. Who can remind me? What do we know about the point of intersection? What is happening at this very point over here? What do we know about our two graphs in that point? At that point, not that x is equal to 0. You're correct because they're both y-intercept, but Patu, you're a whole rock star. At the point of intersection, both graphs are equal. Both graphs are equal. Both graphs are equal. Excellent. Okay, so we've got a lot of stuff that they've already told us about what we're about to answer here. And we need to know that. Very well done, guys. Amazing. Okay, now it says the point 25, and guys, any point that they give you is very, very important, and I'm going to show you why. The point 25 lies on the graph of G. So it lies on the graph of our exponential. Okay, the point 25 lies on our exponential graph. No worries, Nyeleti, welcome. All right, now let's answer some questions. Order, bring to front. Okay, cool. Now we're going to answer some questions. I'm going to move back and forth a little bit, guys. I know it's going to be a little bit annoying. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm just going to do this just a teeny bit. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can see both the questions and the graph. Give me a thumbs up if everything is fine. Can you see the questions and the graph? Thanks, Konke. Awesome, guys. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. I'm just going to delete all this extra information. We're going to need it, but, you know, at least it's all on the graph. It's all on the graph. All right. Now, let's start with question 7.1.1, because this question is actually 7. Okay, question 7.1. It says here, for which values of x is f of x equal to g of x? So they're telling me about a part where the two graphs are equal. Where are my two graphs equal, guys? Look at the graph and tell me, where did we say our graphs are equal? Anna, mwah. Beautifully done. I didn't even finish my question and you were already done. That's it, Ria. Well done. Good. We know that at the point of intersection, they are equal. And they've given us the point of intersection. They've told us that they intersect here. And this is why this question is worth exactly 1 mark. Because all we need to do is put the point 0 and -3. Okay. Oh, we only need the x value. Yes. Sorry, Teacher Nelly. We only need the x value. So we can just say x is equal to, what is my x value equal to at that point, guys? That's it, Namisile. Hi, Tiana.
Ma'am, so what happens if you don't have the intersection point? Like, then I don't give it to you.
No, they can't. They can't give it to you because that's what they're actually getting at. Okay. And it's 1 mark, so you're either correct or you're not. So there's not even like a middle ground where you can be like, but I was half correct. No, you either get it or you don't. We don't do half marks anymore. You either get the mark or you don't. So at the point x is equal to 0, that's where my two graphs are equal. Okay, we're not going to answer question 7.1.2 just yet. I want us to get to the other questions before we continue. All right, we'll come back to that one. Now it says, write down the equation of the asymptote of g. Which graph is g, guys? The exponential or the hyperbola? Which of these graphs is g? Oh, Teacher Nelly, I can see. Okay. Anna's asking, what is an asymptote? An asymptote is a point that my graph cannot touch. So Anna, on our graph, it's going to be all the points that look like this. Do you see all these dotted lines? All these dotted lines will be asymptotes. Okay, and they're going to tell us something interesting about our graph. Okay, this one, remember, we're looking for the asymptote of the exponential graph. So which graph can our exponential not touch? Which line? Which dotted line? Write down the equation of the asymptote of g. Good, Namani, you've said -4, but you have not written it down as an equation. Okay, and that's something we need to be very careful of as we do these kinds of questions. Okay. Good, it is -4. Well done, Atlekhan. This -4, this asymptote of -4 is lying on the y-axis. So when we write the equation, we need to say y is equal to -4. Okay, it's on the y-axis, therefore y is equal to -4. It's this horizontal asymptote for our exponential graph. Okay, it's moving just like that. Thank you, Teacher Nels. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, now it's saying 7.1.4 says, determine the equation of G. Okay, determine the equation of the graph G. So here's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to note. First thing we're going to note is that G of x is equal to b to the power of x plus c. This value over here, this plus c over here, is always the value of our asymptote. What was our asymptote again? You guys remind me, what was the asymptote? Good. We remember, excellent. The asymptote was -4. So we're going to go straight into our formula and we're going to replace the plus c part with -4. That's what we're going to do. Okay. We're going to take that part, replace it with -4. 4. So instead of plus c, we will have g of x is equal to b to the power of x minus 4. Now, our big thing right now is that we have to now figure out the value of b. We have to figure out the value of b. And the way we figure out the value of b is we always sub in the point. We sub in the point that they've given us. Which point on the graph of g have they given us, guys? They've been nice enough to give us 2, but anybody can pick one. Yes, gift, always. Sometimes gift, instead of writing C, they will write Q, but that doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. It will still be that. Okay. Cool. All right. So everybody's with me. They've given us the point 2 and 5. Now we're going to take the x value. We know that the x value is 2 and the y value is 5. So we're going to sub in, remember g of x is the same thing as y. So we're going to replace g of x with 5 and we're going to replace x with 2 and we're going to solve for b. Okay, so this is what our new equation will look like. We will say 5 is equal to b to the power of 2 minus 4. All right, I want you guys to take it from here. Calculate for the value of b for me. Calculate for b. Okay, remember how maths works? Isolate the unknown. It's an exponential, so make sure that you've got exponentials on both sides. Namisila's done already. People are sleeping. Oh, Patu, it's not going to be equal to 1. Check again, Patu. Check again. Excellent. It's going to be 3. Let's see how we actually get to 3. Oh, I will teach a coco. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm going to take negative 4 over to the other side and it's going to become positive 4. I'll have 5 plus 4 will give me 9 is equal to b squared. The only way I'm going to get rid of that squared is if I square root both sides. I square root both sides. Therefore, b must equal to 3. Okay. Patu took it over to the other side and then she minused it on the other side. It's fine. It's okay that we make these mistakes here, Patu, and not during an exam. Okay. All right. Why? Remember, guys, our teachers used to tell us that whenever we take the square root of something, it needs to be plus or minus 3. Why did we all just say 3? Why didn't we say plus or minus 3? Look at the graph that they've given us. Why would we not say minus 3? Why would we say plus 3 and not minus 3? What kind of exponential graph do we have, guys? Is it increasing or decreasing? Good, it's an increasing graph. Exactly, it's increasing. Now, if our exponential graph had been drawn down here, then we wouldn't have been able to take the positive 3 of it. We could only then take the negative of it. Okay, so we need to be very careful about what kind of graph they've given us and how we're interpreting it. Excellent. Okay, give me a thumbs up if finding the equation of the graph is easy. We can now replace b with 3. So we're going to have g of x is equal to 3 to the power of x minus 4. Yes, Patu. Okay, that's okay. We're going to do another example gift. Don't stress. Okay, you guys need to let me know if you guys are stuck in any way and you're not following with me. I need you guys to stop me and say, ma'am, here again, please. Okay, don't let me move on unless you're absolutely understanding what's happening. Okay. Yes, Patu.
Ma'am, hello.
Yes. Yes.
So I have a question. So okay,
Mm.
they were calculating for B, right? We
Mhm.
wrote B is equals to plus minus 3. Anish.
Mm.
And then there by the equation, we don't write plus minus 3, we just like write that.
Yes, because we just said Patu, what kind of graph is this? It's an increasing graph, right?
Oh, so
If
if
I
it was
write plus
decreasing, then it was going to
minus,
be minus.
yes. So if it was down here, it would be
Oh,
minus. Because if I write plus or minus,
mm,
I'm saying that there's two graphs, a positive graph or a negative graph. We don't have
okay,
both.
ma'am.
We only have the positive one. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, my sweetie. Anna, I'm seeing you say, please repeat. I need you to tell me which part do I need to repeat, just so I know where we're going with that question. Okay. You can even put your hand up, my sweetie, and ask your pointed question just so that we're together. Yes, Patu.
Ma'am, the other question is, so what if they say we should write down the equation of the asymptote and then like they did not give us like the negative 4?
Well, in that case, then they would give you this write-up over here. This write-up here at the top will tell you a lot. Okay, they can't really give you these kind of graphs without telling you that kind of information. Okay, so normally if they don't put it on the graph, it's written there at the top. Okay.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Excellent, my sweetie. Atahang says, how do you determine that the graph is increasing or decreasing? Atahang, what's happening? This is a direct proportion, yes? As my X values become more positive, my Y values also become positive. Therefore, it's an increasing graph. Now, if I was over here, if my graph was down here, Atahang, as my X values increase, if my graph was down here, when my X values increase, my Y values would be decreasing. That's how we know that it's a decreasing graph. Okay. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense, my sweetie. Okay. All right. Let's look at the next question while Atlechang answers my question. Okay. The next question says, write down the equations of the asymptotes of F. Okay. Namisile is already finished, and now I don't know what everybody else will be asking. Okay. Now we're looking at our hyperbola, guys. We're looking at our hyperbola. And we can tell that this point, this asymptote over here, lies on the x-axis at -2. And this point over here, this asymptote lies on the y at -1. So the two equations need to read, that's it, Asbonge and Klo and Namisile. Our x asymptote will read x is equal to -2, and our y asymptote will read y is equal to -1. All right. Give me a thumbs up if the asymptotes make sense. Are we okay with the asymptotes? Yes, Ria, but remember, the thing that you are looking for is not the exponents, it's the base. So even if you made the bases the same, you can drop the exponents then. You can't drop the bases. I'll explain what you mean in just a second. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. Okay. All right, give me 1 second, guys. Patu and Londe, just give me 1 second. Londeka, give me just 1 second. All right, I just need to explain to Reabetswe why we can't actually drop the bases. Okay, so Reabetswe, both you and I are at this point over here. We're at 9 is equal to b squared. Now, I know that the only way I'm going to be able to compare the bases is if they look the same. But the only thing I can do is make the exponents look the same. So I can rewrite 9 as 3 squared. So I'm going to get 3 squared is equal to b squared. So I can't actually drop the bases. The things that I would have to drop are the exponents. Therefore, b is equal to 3. Okay, I hope that makes sense as to why we can't drop the bases. The thing we're looking for isn't the exponent, it's the base. The only time we drop the bases is if the thing we're looking for is the exponent. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right, just need to remember b is equal to 3. Yes, Patu.
Ma'am, so I wanted to ask if like we have a hyperbola. Okay, if we have a hyperbola and like the two things are not like they're not like kind of like mirroring each other, then we have two equations like for
Yes.
x and y.
No. They will always, okay. In a hyperbola, they will always mirror each other. Okay. It might not be at the same point that you're thinking, because I know in grade 10, you guys are used to them mirroring each other about the x-axis or the y-axis. They're not doing that. They're mirroring each other from this point. Okay. So this one and this one are mirrors from that point and that point. So there's the mirror. There's the mirror. Okay.
Okay.
Does that make sense? We
Yes,
just didn't put it on the y-axis. It's actually somewhere else. Okay.
So ma'am, in which case will it only be like one asymptote? Is it for the exponential graph?
In grade 10. And it's not the exponential graph, it's the hyperbola and the parabola where they mirror each other. Remember that we can take the parabola and we can split it in two and almost like fold, right? So in the case of the hyperbola, it's just obvious because we have two graphs, but a parabola will also have that. Exponential only has one asymptote. Okay, so if they wanted us to mirror it, it would sit here. Okay, but that's the only thing we can do. It doesn't come in two graphs. It's only one graph. Okay. Does that make sense? All right, my sweetie. Excellent. Londeka, what's up, my sweetie?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. What's up?
Ma'am, to take you back to question 7.1.4, right?
Yes.
The equation, is it not supposed to be gx is equal to 3 squared, not 3x?
Oh, no, my sweetie. Listen, okay. So when we were doing this over here, I know that B said squared, but we were only looking for the value of B. The function of the graph isn't actually B squared, my sweetie. The function of the graph is B to the power of X. The only reason it was squared is because we were trying to solve for B. But once we figure out what B is, we need to put the X back.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
All right, my sweetie. I hope that makes sense. All right. Okay. Let's look at this. All right. We've been given the two equations of our asymptotes, guys. Now they say determine the equation of F. Yes, Asi. 7.1.5. Okay. Okay. So they're saying determine the equation of the asymptotes of F. Remember, our hyperbola has two asymptotes, the horizontal asymptote and the vertical asymptote. Here is our vertical asymptote, that one. That is our horizontal asymptote. There's two of them for a hyperbola. This one, because this one lies on the x-axis, this is our x, this is our hyperbola. This is our asymptote, or for the x-axis. And this one lies on the y-axis, so this is our asymptote for the y. Does that make sense, Asi? That's why we say x is equal to -2 and y is equal to -1. That's where we get those two numbers from. Okay, I hope that makes sense, my sweetie. Because that -4 doesn't belong to this graph. The -4 doesn't belong to the graph of F. The -4 belongs to that graph. That asymptote is for this graph, not for the two that we're looking at now. Remember, what they've actually done is they've drawn two graphs on the same set of axes. Okay, so this -4 was for the exponential graph. At the moment, we're not talking about the exponential graph. We're looking at the hyperbola. And the asymptotes for the hyperbola are different. Okay, they are different. All right, now it says determine the equation of f. So we're going to go back into the formula of f, guys, f of x, and we're going to sub in what we know. This q over here, the q is always the y asymptote. So what am I going to replace the q with, guys? Let me know. What do we replace the q with? Good, Patu. That's it, Namisile. Well done, Anna. That's it, Akachang. Excellent, Asbonge. That's it. We're going to replace q with -1. Good. So we're going to have f of x is equal to a over x, and I'm just realizing what's happened here, -1. Okay, I'm realizing what's happened. All right, for our p, guys, this p value, I want you guys to ignore it because you guys don't do the p value in grade 10. Okay, so we're going to ignore this part. Yeah, we're going to ignore it, and we're just going to put in that value over there. Okay, that's it. So we're going to get a over x minus 1. I just need to make sure the maths is going to work out here before we continue. Oh, it's not.
I think you should leave it in.
Can I leave it in? Because if I don't, then we're going to get something undefined, and that doesn't make sense. Okay, all right. If we leave it in, I just need to then tell you guys.
And try and explain it to them.
Okay, let's see if you guys can catch on. Okay, so this is actually grade 11 work. I want to see if you guys will catch on with me. When we put this p value in, guys, the p value is our x asymptote, but we're just going to change the sign. So instead of writing -2, we're going to write +2. So we are going to have f of x is equal to a over x. Instead of -2, we're going to write x plus 2 minus 1. Give me a thumbs up if that made sense. Okay. There's a reason behind it. I can't explain it now because we're going to have to move on. Okay. We're just going to, there's a reason behind it, but I just need you guys to know that if they give you x plus p, then the asymptote at the bottom is now +2 and not -2. I'm going to do a very quick explanation of why. Okay. All right. Yes, just change the sign, Tiana. Yes, just change the sign. All right. Let me explain something to you guys quickly. All right. If I have 1 over x, okay. If I have 1 over x, x has an asymptote of what? What can x not equal to? X cannot be equal to what? Good, it's 0. Good, it's 0. Because if I put 0 in, I'm going to get 1 over 0. That's undefined. So x cannot be equal to 0. But let's do this. If I said 1 over x plus 2. If I make x 0, that's fine because my answer is just going to be 1 over 2. Okay, but I know that if my x is a certain value, then I'm going to get 0 again. What does x need to be in order for this bottom part to be 0? That's it, Namisile. Well done, Tiana. That's it. So if x is -2, I'm going to get -2 plus 2 at the bottom, which is going to give us 1 over -2 plus 2 is 0, right? And that's undefined. We will not get an answer for that. It's undefined. So when we are looking at this asymptote, if we look at this asymptote over here, do you guys notice that my asymptote is at -2? Right. That means that my x value is -2. What does my p-value, if I make my p-value what, will it be undefined? Oh, sorry, I'm lying. It's the other way around. Oh, no, I'm correct. Actually, I'm correct. If x over here is -2, p then has to be, what makes this undefined? If x is -2, p will have to be +2. +2 in order for that thing to be undefined. And that's why I've taken this part over here where my asymptote was -2 and I've made it +2. Okay, that's why we're making it the opposite sign, because if we have the other number, if we have -2, we need to put in +2 to make it undefined. If I had, guys, if I had +3, if my x value over here was +3, if I had x is equal to +3, what would this value over here have to be in order for that thing to be undefined? Good, -3. Does that make sense? Okay, just give me a thumbs up if the reason why we changed the sign makes sense. Okay. Cool beans. All right. And that's the whole reason why we changed the sign. Okay. I know it. Hey, teacher Naz, I felt like it was touch and go there, but hey, you guys are with it. You're here. I'm throwing rocks and you guys are ching, 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 ching. Okay. Wow. Love it. Excellent. All right. Excellent. Now we have to figure out what A is. Yes, Namisile, so that it's undefined. Okay, that's why it's an asymptote. That's why it's an asymptote, because if we make x equal to -2, it's going to be undefined. All right. So how do we find A? Yes, Anna, because your graph, when you try and draw it, it won't make sense. Okay, Anna is saying, if I accidentally don't change the sign, is there a way for me to check and see that the answer is incorrect? Yes. So what's going to happen is you're going to take a point, Anna. You're going to take, let's say, for instance, this point, 0 and -3. You're going to take your x value and you're going to pop in 0. If the answer you get out is not -3, then you know that you've done it wrong. Okay. So that's how you can check. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. Now, guys, we need to find A. And the way we're going to find A is if we sub in a point. Okay. Which point on the graph of f of x have they given us? Which point have they given us, guys? Have a look at our graph of f of x. Look for the point that they've given us that we can sub in. Okay, cool. Patu says -6 and 0. I agree. We can use -6 and 0, 100%, or we can use 0 or -3. It won't really matter which one we use, guys. It won't matter. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to choose which one you're going to put in. You guys choose. You can either sub in the point -6 and 0, or you can sub in the point 0 and -3. Pick, choose one, guys. You get to choose. Remember, this is your x value and that is your y value. This is your x value, that is your y value. You just need to replace x and y and find me A. You'll see, guys, that we're both going to reach the same conclusion. I'm going to give everybody 2 minutes to calculate for that for me. You guys can choose which x and which y value you want to use. You've got 2 minutes. Go for it. Give me an answer for x. Close like 90 seconds. Yes. Tiana, why are you crying? It seems like Roma got the same answer you did. So maybe it's correct. Flo also got the correct answer. Or Vaya also got the same answer. So there's no need to cry, Tiana. You're doing the correct things. You're making the pots to happen. Good. Everybody's getting -4. I just need to double check you guys because I'm not sure also me. Okay. I'm going to choose this point here because I like it when y is 0. I like it when y is 0. So I'm going to replace y with 0. 0 is equal to a over -6 plus 2 minus 1. And then I'm going to take my -1 over to the other side and it's going to become positive 1. So 1 is equal to a over negative 4. Cross multiply, therefore a is equal to negative 4. Yes or no in the chat, guys? Does the fact that a is negative 4 make sense? Yes or no? Remember what we said at the very beginning. What did we say? We said that our graph is in quadrants 2 and 4. So it makes perfect sense that my graph or my value for a is negative. It must be. Because if my value was positive, then I've definitely done something wrong. No one is like, yes, and a bit of no. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. So we know we're going to replace a with negative 4. So our graph of f will read f of x is equal to negative 4 over x plus 2 minus 1. You guys can give yourselves a round of applause because you guys are amazing. You guys are whole superstars, whole rock stars. That's okay, Gift. It's okay to be confused about it. It's not a grade 10 concept. Okay. So if you feel like you just want to take it out of your mind, take it out of your mind, because it's not a grade 10 concept. You only learn about it in grade 11. Okay. So if it's a bit confusing, no, it's okay. Let it go. Okay. It should be confusing, actually. It should be. Yes, Ria Between. Hi, Ria.
Oh, sorry, ma'am. It was a mistake because like my network keeps on
Oh no, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. All right, guys. All right. Here's our next challenge, guys. We've only got 7 minutes or 6 minutes left, but here's our next challenge. Okay, we're not going to do axes of symmetry today. We're going to do those on Wednesday, so don't stress too much about axes of symmetry. We'll get back to those. I just wanted us to be comfortable enough to find the equation of the graph. Okay, here's our next challenge. Now, they've given us, what kind of graph have they given us here, guys? Look at this next question. What kind of graph do we have? That's it. It's a parabola. It's a parabola. And I love how part 2 even puts in there that it's smiley faced. It's smiley faced. So we know that the equation of our graph, whatever our A is, will need to be positive because it's smiling at us. Or Anna says concave up. I like it when people use like big science-y words like concave. Ooh, guys, you sound very smart. You just sound very smart when you're saying things like concave. Okay. All right. Excellent, guys. All right. So let's look at the information they've given. It's IQ, guys. It's the IQ. Big English. Thank you. You know what I mean. All right. Let's look at the information they've given us over here. They say that the diagram illustrates sketch graphs of the linear function f of x is equal to negative 4x minus 8. We know this is y is equal to mx plus c, guys. We've seen this millions of times. Y is equal to mx plus c. And the quadratic function g of x. Now, they haven't given us a quadratic function at all, at all. Study the diagram and answer the questions that follow. Okay, so they want us to give the coordinates of point A. Right, I don't want to give too much away, but does anybody know what the coordinates of point A is? Have a look, that point A is down here. Anybody got any idea what the coordinates of point A are? Yes, Tiana. Ah, Anna, you're a whole rock star. Yes, Tiana.
So,
Yes.
ne, I know for starters, like the x is gonna be 0. Yeah.
Good. The
gonna be
x is
0.
going to be 0.
Then I don't want the what is the y? I don't know.
Okay, but do you agree with me that this line over here, this straight line goes straight through that point? Yes?
Yeah.
And this is our y-axis, right? What do we call that y point where my graph goes through? What do we call that point?
Yeah, I forgot. Well, I don't know.
It's called the y-intercept. It's called the y-intercept. And we can find it on this graph. We can find it on the graph of the straight line. It's called the y-intercept. What is the y-intercept there?
Isn't it the -8?
It's -8. That's all. We just needed to look at the graph. We know what that point is, right? But we know that the x value over there, because it's the y-intercept, what would the x value over there be?
0.
Good. 0
So
and...
0 and -8.
That's it. That's it. That wasn't really a tough question, hey? That's all. Well done to everybody who caught on to that. That was pretty nice and easy. Well done, Tiana. Excellent work. All right. So we know that the coordinates of A are going to be 0 and -8. All right. Now it says, give the coordinates of point B if the line of symmetry is the y-axis, which means that this point and this point are the same distance apart from here to there. Sure, Anna, I mean, on fire, girl, just good. But remember, Anna, they want coordinates. So we need to write it in coordinate form. Asbonge, well done. You just forgot your brackets. You forgot your brackets there. Excellent, that's it. We just need to remember to put it in brackets. So this point over here will be -2 and 0. Don't forget, it's a coordinate, guys. It's a coordinate. Okay, now I see Samuel saying, oh, line of symmetry. Yes, what they're basically saying is that this line is creating a mirror image onto the side. So these two are mirror images of each other. So if this point is 2 away from the y-axis, the other point will also be 2 away from the y-axis. Okay. Then it says, give the range of G. Remind me again, guys, the range is which values? Which values is the range? Which values? Anybody remember? The range is the Y values. Okay, Amber, this 2 here. Okay, what they're telling us is that this distance is 2 away from the y-axis, and they're saying that the y-axis is the line of symmetry, which means if this part is 2, this part is also 2 away. Okay, but I'm going 2 in the negative direction. Excellent. All right, good. Our range is our y values, guys. And remember how we can talk about our range? We can do this. We can go, y is an element of real numbers, right? But y cannot be. Now, I know that y can't be less than any of these numbers over here. So y has to be greater or equal to what? Greater or equal to, not less than, Asbonge, be very careful. It needs to be greater than. So it needs to be all the values that way. Greater than our turning point. And our turning point was at? Where's my turning point, guys? What is the y value of my turning point? That's it, Samuel. The y value of my turning point is at -8. Good. Or we can do it the other way. We can write it in interval notation. So we can say y is an element of square brackets -8. Look, now I'm writing negative infinity. -8 semicolon infinity round brackets. Round brackets. Okay. All right. Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to pause this right here. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Yes, Amber, you can choose, unless they say they want it in set builder or they want it in interval notation. This one is interval, and this one is set builder.